We're live, Chase. Take two now. Someone didn't flip the on switch on the mic over there. So take two. We're recording live, 1 a.m. from the Marriott Center, Mountain Time. Chase, BYU falls to Arizona, 85-74. BYU falls to 6-5 in Big 12 play. Initial thoughts from tonight.
Well, guys, first off, let me tell you, we got like a solid 5 minutes into this
5-6 minutes.
We were rolling, not going to lie. It's a good thing I noticed it before the end, I guess.
We would have had to restart the whole thing.
I'm just going to repeat what I said when we first did the take. I just want to start the podcast with this. I think BYU's okay. They ran into a very good team playing very well, and it wasn't their night. There were some things to fix. There's also some things that we can look good, some players who we think did some positive things that we'll get to later in the episode as we recap the entire night. But at the end of the day, I think BYU still is sitting pretty in conference. They still have good wins under their belt. This is by no means a bad loss. In fact, it might be like the best looking loss of the whole season, other than that Texas Tech game, right? And the Houston, that's what the nature of the Big 12, right? But tonight, as far as it goes, ran to a good team who was playing really well. So shout out Arizona for that.
Yeah, and going into tonight, BYU moves up to 6-4 in Big 12 play after their win at UCF, and then you go, okay, 500 the rest of the way. So the key is going 1-1 from here on out, and don't lose any of the bad games against teams like Kansas State or Utah. And so therefore, then you don't have any bad losses, and you get a couple more quad one wins in there to build up your resume. Tonight, look, I talked about it beforehand, this was a very good chance of getting a high-quality Q1 win against Arizona. I think they're 11th in the net. Would have been great for the tournament resume, but it didn't happen tonight, and I think just flat out Arizona was the better team tonight. They were better coached. They were better players on that team. They were more experienced. They've been in these moments before. And I think where the game actually flipped, I think a lot of people are going to point to the last 7 minutes when BYU scored basically 2 points at the very end. But I think the point where I knew this game had completely flipped was BYU had gotten back in the game, and Cannon Catchings hits that corner three. The crowd goes bananas, going nuts. The Marriott Center's rocking. And Caleb Love knocks down that three to silence the crowd right after. The second that went in, I go, oh, man, these guys got him tonight. They've got him. And then Tommy Lloyd mentioned it in his postgame presser where he said, yeah, our guys kind of figured out their defense on their own and started picking them apart a little bit and figured out, what they were doing, and they attacked it. And credit to them. They were the better team tonight. And, when you shoot like that from the free throw line, if you're Arizona, you're not going to lose a lot of ball games. They ended up finishing 15 of 17 from the line. Look, that's what if you're a fan of a team, you dream of that. You go, oh man, please shoot 15 of 17. And a lot of people are going to pinpoint to BYU's free throw shooting. Yeah, 57%, 8 of 14, not great. But I mean, okay, you make all 6 of those free throws. Are you winning the game? Probably not, but 57% is a bad percentage.
Yeah, that's been a problem all season, and I'm sure they're continuing to work on it. But like you said, Carter, I think, everything started to really go wrong there in the last 7 minutes. I think BYU just got, their legs kind of taken out from under them. Like you said, Arizona figured them out defensively. And if you watch that last 7 minutes offense, not great for the Cougars. A lot of those shots were rushed at the end of the shot clock, just kind of like heaves, because Arizona was stopping every bit of action. There was that moment there, right, where Dallin, Yegor, they were getting in the lane. They were really figuring things out there. And then I think Arizona adjusted. I also think BYU might have settled a little bit, and that's where it kind of went off. Defensively for BYU, Arizona started to get to the basket at will, right? Yep. And it started to get to a point where the guards couldn't keep up with the likes of Caleb Love, right, and Bradley and these guys who are very athletic and very talented at getting to the hoop. So BYU resorted to fouls, right? They played over aggressive. They got behind, and then Arizona knocked down every free throw they took. I mean, just about. And people, you've seen some Twitter, maybe how people in the comments talk about the officiating. It's not an officiating problem.
No.
BYU is getting burned defensively. Guess what? You tend to foul when that happens.
And also the other thing is, and Kevin Young touched on this briefly, where he said, oh, we want to play it more up-tempo. We wanted to play fast. And you could see, especially in the first half when it was back and forth, high pace, BYU was thriving in that system. The issue is at the end of the second half, when Arizona's knocking down every single one of their shots, it you don't have the ability to speed up the tempo as much because Arizona's able to get into their half-court defense when they make shots. So that made it more difficult for BYU. And shout out to Dallin Hall tonight because clear MVP. Dude came in and made every big play he needed to tonight. And look, obviously they didn't get it done in the end, but he was fantastic, making huge play after huge play. And hopefully BYU can see that going forward. But just think if Dallin doesn't come in and have that kind of game tonight, it would have gotten real ugly.
Really fast. I think we would have seen a much wider margin. People would have left the stadium. Other than that, yeah, big shout out to Dallin. You know, we were just like looking at each other, eyes wide open at some of these passes he was making, and seeing him aggressive. Honestly, Karter, like, made me nostalgic. And I hope
WCC days?
I can say this. I was like, not even that, but like even last year, I was like, I miss aggressive Dallin Hall. I miss a guy who hit what we like affectionately call the FU down threes, right? Where he just like pulls up and
he's just like, all right, step back. I'm taking an NBA 3-pointer right in your face. And probably not a bad percentage if we're being honest.
It always seems like he just hits them in the biggest moments, and when BYU needed it, you know, up until the very end when nothing was working, right? He was doing it, and he was finding Foose, and he was being aggressive, going to the basket. There was that one possession where BYU started to fall apart, right? And it was like 5 on the shot clock. Everyone's expecting him to chuck up a 3. Instead, he goes to the lane, gets an easy layup, right? And that is what we need to see, not just from Dallin, but from across the board. And we saw that a lot from Yegor today. You know, everyone's going to talk about, like, he took 20 shots, right? And this and that. But as long as he's aggressive, I think that's better. A lot of those shots, he took 9 threes, and a lot of them were him just settling and, again, late shot clock stuff, which you don't like to see. But every time he got into the basket, something good usually happened, right?
Him and Dallin,
which is the point we're trying to get at here, and that we've been saying quite literally the entire season. His team plays better downhill. They play better penetrating. And even Kevin Young, he said, the threes and the looks that we like to get is when we get in the paint and then we spray it out. And those are the looks. He said we didn't get those towards the end, you know, those 7 minutes where everyone's been talking about. We were just settling outside the key. So the thing about this game, Card, is like you see the first half, and then you see like those minutes where they grab the lead with about 10 minutes left, and you're like, this is looking like pretty good for BYU. And there's a lot of good things to point to here. I thought Kaba still played a good game, right? Mawit Mag continues to be a contributor. You know, Yegor was aggressive. He had some beautiful passes as well and was seeing the court really well. But you still, you know, you look at the score, you're like, lost by 11.
Yeah.
You know, and it's hard not to feel like, oh, despite all that. But I guess the point I'm trying to say is you still played good, and there's things to build on. There's good things that we can see improvement. There's still things to be improved on. But Arizona was just really good tonight.
And the other thing I think that's important to realize right now, if you haven't watched a lot of Big 12 basketball, is Arizona right now is playing like the best Big 12 team at the moment. Iowa State's dwindling right now. Houston even fell to Texas Tech, and they came out slow and sluggish against bottom of the barrel Oklahoma State tonight. Arizona right now is playing the best basketball in this conference.
Texas Tech is probably up there. Seven wins in a row.
That's fair, and they beat them.
They beat Arizona
by 16. So it's them two right there.
Them two, though.
But okay, let's break that down from a BYU perspective. In the 2 games they played them, got down to the ropes with Texas Tech right there. BYU honestly blew that game away. And then tonight, look, Arizona ended up winning this game and kind of won it with about 4 minutes to go. But BYU was there for 36 minutes, and it just came down to the offense got stagnant. And like you said, a late shot clock, that was a real problem, was not getting into their action early into the shot clock. And all of a sudden it's, oh crap, Yegor Dallin has the ball. We got to chuck up a random 3-point shot.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the offense here, because like I said, for the first, 25, 30 minutes of this game, you felt really good. And then the last 10-ish minutes of gameplay there, you felt bad. What we saw in the first 30 was what we've been talking about, right? Pushing the ball up, penetration, kicking. We already covered that looked good. When it looks bad is what we saw against like TCU, Utah, these ugly games where we were really down on BYU. It's just the ISO stuff. It's the holding on to the ball too long and just kicking it around the perimeter without any sort of action towards the basket. That's where things go wrong. I don't know if BYU resorted to that or if Arizona just had a great counter, maybe probably bits of both. But where BYU struggles and where I've seen some like particularly in the turnover category, is they go through their action and half the time they don't even look about where they're passing it, and they're just so used to this action, which is good. They've learned it, and look, it works a lot of times. Kevin Young, I think, knows what he's doing with these sets, but sometimes dudes are aggressive and they're denying passing lanes, and like 3 or 4 of Yegor's passes got tipped or stolen because he's just like, I know the ball's supposed to go there. I'm passing it right there. I'm not even thinking about it. Right. And maybe he gets a little ahead of himself and he's just ready to get that action moving. But, at BYU, you can't be going through the motions. Right. And there was times, when, especially that last 7 minutes, where you look and you say, that was supposed to be a shot by Cannon. Right. We turn to you. We say, that was supposed to be for him. They overplayed it. They were aggressive. They took that away. And that's just supposed to be set up for Richie. He didn't get the shot off. Dallin, that was supposed to be action for him. Foose off the pick. That didn't work out, right? It's those moments where things break down that you need to start to figure out, okay, what do you need to do? And in the moments, right, we loved Dallin Hall tonight is when things did break down and he said, screw it, I'm going to the rim then. And I'm going to make something happen. And that's when BYU was in it, and then they stopped doing that. They fell out of it.
And one of those key plays was it got kicked out to him with 5 on the shot clock and the whole crowd chanting 5, 4, 3, 2. And instead of just, dancing and taking a contested 3, he went straight to the basket and hit a massive game-changing layup. Obviously didn't end up mattering in the end, but,
at that moment, you looked at me, you're like, if they pull this off, like that's going to be
that's what we point back to. Yeah. But rest of that game, though, the last 7 minutes was not pretty.
Literally from that point on, it was like, oh my.
Yeah. But credit to Arizona. They played great defense. They stopped a lot of the action. And also BYU missed open shots tonight, too. Like, that's another thing. You talk about Yegor in the first half. Like, he was spraying it out to guys, and he was making great passes. And a couple guys just weren't hitting. Whether it wasn't Nell's night, it wasn't Cannon's night. And that happens.
I mean, you shot 29% from 3. It's usually not going to get it done. Arizona shot dang near 50, 40, 90. Which, if you don't know the lingo, it's talking about shooting percentage splits, so 50% from the field, 40% from 3, 90% from free throw line. Look, if you do that as a player, you had a great night, a great season. Some of the greats have done that, like Steph Curry, JJ Redick, Steve Kerr, like these amazing shooters. To do that as a team for a night, pretty dang remarkable. You're just red hot. And like at the end of the day, right, BYU, you missed some open threes. Guess what? Caleb Love hits some step backs in your face. So what's going to happen? You make all your free throws, Arizona. Congrats. You win the game. Just happens in college basketball. This is how it works. That's why anyone can win. And that's why we love March, because there's just nights like this.
And also, I may have given Arizona some bulletin board material, and I am looking at the camera right now. I am sincerely apologizing to all BYU fans listening to this, because I said that if BYU were to win this game, it would be because Caleb Love had a bad game, and that's going to be BYU's MVP in the spot. Caleb Love went on to shoot 4-9 from 3 and hit a ton of massive shots, especially big shots in the second half, crowd-killing shots, and
4 assists too, which is high for him.
4 assists, 6 rebounds. I mean, he had a really, really solid game. Only 2 turnovers, 2 steals. He played fantastic. He picked his spots really well. I mean, if you've watched soccer before, no, I want this very clear. I'm not saying Caleb Love is Messi, but he was playing in that Messi-like approach where, look, he really picked his spots, and when it wasn't his time, kind of walked around. You're like, what is the body language there? Why he is checked out when he's not in the action. Like, what's going on here? And then all of a sudden, boom, Caleb Love's got the ball, and the defense is on their toes, freaking out.
Right. He made his shots worth it, like you said, picked his spots, and a killer. And it was reminding me, honestly, a lot of this Baylor game where Edgecombe and Rob Wright were just hitting these like massive shots, and you're like, holy cow. Like, these dudes are hooping right now, and Arizona was on that level where it just felt like they couldn't miss. The difference in that Baylor game was BYU was on that same level, and their offense was clicking. So you can talk about the defense all you want and how amazing Arizona was. The fact of the matter is, I think BYU still has a chance if they, guess what, make a single field goal in the last 7 minutes. Obviously more than one, but to have that bad of a meltdown and still feel like, you left a lot on the table, which they obviously did, is a pretty good sign for BYU. And I think
Yeah.
offensively, a lot of things are fixed except for that last 7 minutes.
Yeah, and look, you had the ticky-tack fouls, whatever. Overall consensus tonight for me, it's not the end of the world. You're not going to win them all. It's the Big 12. It's a really tough conference. This was a really great chance to knock off a big win at home in front of a big-time crowd tonight. But
awesome crowd, by the way.
Guess what? You're still playing in the Big 12, and guess who you got coming here in a couple weeks? You got the Kansas Jayhawks. It's a great chance to knock off a big win. You get to play on the road at Iowa State. That's another great chance. You get to play this Arizona team again in a couple weeks. That's another great chance to get a big quad one win. So it's fine. The sky's not falling. Just think about last season when BYU, they lost to Oklahoma State and Oklahoma on the road, and you go, I don't know. That team barely went above 500 in Big 12 play, and they ended up with a 6 seed. Go 500 the rest of the way. This team's going to be just fine. They're going to make it to March Madness as long as they do that, and it's not the end of the world. They lost this game tonight.
Absolutely not. Before we go to break, I'll just end with this. I'd rather lose in an amazing shooting out game to Arizona than beat Santa Clara by 15.
Or if you're in your Gonzaga's case, you're giving up 100 to Santa Clara and losing right now. So anyhow, with that being said, let's go to a quick break and we'll answer some Twitter questions right after this. Chase, let's answer some Twitter questions. We'll start off here. The man, the myth, the legend, Jack Carpenter at Jack_Carpenter5. I don't think we played horrible, ... Sometimes other teams have more talent than you. They hit some shots. We didn't. Can we please get an early preview of the AJ DeBansa-Bryce James game? That matchup will feed generations. We got a lot of season left, and that's an off-season podcast right there, talking about AJ DeBansa versus Bryce James and what kind of crowd is that going to bring to the Marriott Center. No, yeah, he nailed it. Sometimes teams have more talent and they hit shots and they hit big shots, and that's what happened with Arizona tonight.
Yeah, Jack, thanks for coming as always. We love you. And yeah, that's really what we've been saying. I mean, pretty much for the first 15 minutes of this pod. So I think you covered it well. AJ versus Bryce should be good. Is that coming? I didn't even know that was coming up, but where can I watch
next season?
Oh, he's talking about next season.
You're talking about next season.
Oh, okay. Yeah. My bad, Jack, because he's going to Arizona.
Yeah, he's going to Arizona.
Yeah. Dude, yeah, we'll talk to you next season about that.
We'll talk. That's an off-season podcast.
We'll be dope though. Can we? Steve Kerr was in the building tonight. Could we get LeBron James to a BYU game?
If it's an off night and it's Arizona BYU, and yeah, I bet LeBron would be here.
The stars would have to align. They'd have to be like in Utah.
Yeah,
playing the Jazz.
I think, but
he doesn't play in Utah though.
I think Ryan Smith might have some control over that.
You think so?
I bet he's got some say. I'd think.
Could be awesome.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
We've seen some celebrities this season.
Yeah.
Been pretty sweet. All right. Go to our guy Moose. At Mooserton on Twitter. 4 fast breaks. Didn't score on a single one. Failure to box out on the leading offensive rebounder in the country is what he's meaning there. In that dude was a monster.
He was a monster on the glass.
Yegor struggles with entry passes to a wing or big at the top. Agree with that, but I think it's what I was just talking about. I think he just doesn't think before he throws sometimes, and he's just like, I know the ball's supposed to go here, and he just gets ahead of himself. But you're absolutely right. He had 4 or 5 turnovers tonight. And it's too much. Wouldn't it be nice to have to be 15 from 17 from the free throw stripe? You know what? It would. I don't know what it feels like, but it'd be awesome, Moose. And then refs killed any momentum in the latter 10 minutes with offside calls. I don't mean to disagree, but I just think BYU just got caught struggling defensively, and you tend to foul when you do that. He continued his comment. He said, that said, U of A is a great team. We didn't play well, and still we're in it up to the very end. Looking for the D to be better. Pause. And Yegor and Dallin to stay in attack mode, except Yegor chucking up 7 3-point attempts.
Yeah, and that was when Yegor and Dallin were at their best tonight. I know we touched on that already briefly, but it truly was. The driving lanes were open tonight, and I feel like at some point BYU just kind of went away from that. Honestly, whenever Dallin and Yegor said, all right, I'm going to the paint, felt like they had success nearly every single time.
Good things happen. And like I said, I'm nostalgic for the aggressive Dallin Hall. I miss him. I want to see that dude attack more.
I know this is such a cliche, and this always gets brought up, especially in like when you talk about mock draft stuff and all this. Dallin is definitely sneaky athletic.
Yeah,
He is very sneaky athletic.
that dude can. I don't know.
He can jump. Like
he can yam it.
He went up to try and come down for a help chase down block tonight.
Yeah.
Like he got up there.
Dude got up.
Yeah.
Yeah. He needs to. He does this thing where he gets to the hoop and then he explodes up in the air, and it's so quick, and he gets so high. I think it takes defenders, catches them off guard. And that's like his best move, and I need to see it more. Anyway.
Let's go to Clark at Clarkster Stew. He's got a couple points here as well. He said, would have been nice to pull this one out. Went cold at the worst possible time. Peaked too early in the game and couldn't close. Some great moments, though, and I think we can hang with any team in the conference. This makes winning one of Kansas/Iowa State an absolute must. I agree with you. Yeah, went cold at the worst possible times and peaked too early in the game. I just think they started settling, and credit to Arizona's defense for forcing them to settle, but they should have kept driving in the game like we just mentioned. And some great moments, though, and I think we can hang with any team in the conference. And I said that on our last episode. Every single team in the Big 12 is very beatable. Yeah. We've seen it right now. We've seen it, and BYU is hung with these top teams already. It's fine. They can win these games.
I think the important thing, too, is Kevin Young says that, like, pretty much every single press conference I've sat in. He makes sure to reiterate that he's like, we really believe we can beat anyone.
And Downs said it tonight, too.
Yeah, and I think they believe it. I think that's something he tells the players, and I think it's something I believe, too, because I really do think when this team's clicking, they're clicking, and things are special. And look, he just lost it for, the last 7 minutes tonight, and that was the difference.
And the other thing to think about tonight is last season, BYU never won 3 straight Big 12 games. And now BYU just rattled off 4. And obviously not a lot of the people that are listening to this podcast, because we have a lot of rational, great fans of the show. But some people are like, oh, this is the end of the world. We, blah, 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 because there's always going to be those fans after your team loses. But like I said, man, it's really not the end of the world. Kansas/Iowa State. I would also throw Arizona, like winning any of those 3 in there. I think you're a shoo-in for the tournament at that point.
Yeah, I would go so far as to say is you could pretty much take it to the bank.
So let's go to his next question real quick. He also commented at Clarkster Stew, by the way. Clark on Twitter. Great follow.
Shout out, Clark.
Not sure if this is a question for today's pod or later, but would love for you to talk through if Yegor would benefit from coming back or taking this chance to go to the league.
I think this is definitely something we'll discuss more towards the end of the season as we are searching for content and talking about draft profile and stuff. And this is just my opinion. Yegor needs to go to the league. I think this is his best season to do it. I think if he were to stay, it would take away value from him. And I think his game just fits in the pro game better. A lot of these, what we talked about, a lot of these passes you were making, beautiful, and they just weren't falling. If you're throwing those passes in the NBA, I don't mean this any disrespect to BYU's players because they have amazing players. They're just like, if you're throwing the guys in the NBA, they're probably shooting it a little bit better. All right. And I mean, no disrespect at all, obviously. But game just fits the NBA more. And I think best thing for him, and I can say like 99.99% confident, he's going to the NBA draft.
Yeah, I mean, I would be beyond shocked if he stayed, and nor should he. He's still a projected top 10 pick, and let's say he stayed back a year. Well, one, it would be great to play with AJ and be a lot of fun in BYU, but you're not really increasing your draft stock at that point. At best, you're going 2, and even then, that might be a stretch because there's a lot of good talent coming in next year with the Boozer twins and a bunch of other guys as well. No, there's not that much of a benefit to staying, and also go to the league, you're going to get paid a ton of money. He's going to be a top 10 pick probably. And if he goes into the right situation, he's going to be just fine. He's going to be a pro for a very long time. I truly believe that. And also, his game does translate much better to the NBA. It's so much more space and so much more pick and roll oriented. And those are the 2 things he thrives in. And that's going to just make him a much better pro, and he should leave.
Yeah, I think a lot of people talk about like, oh, you need to stay in college to develop. You know who's pretty good at development? NBA coaches and teams.
Yeah, I mean, look at
they hire they spend millions of dollars on developing players. They have a developmental league.
Look at like a guy like Amin Thompson right now.
Yep.
I mean, coming into the league, they're like, he's pretty raw, like he's good talent, but look at him right now. Look how he's developed. So
yeah, the truth about NBA with their lottery picks, they will give that player at the very minimum 3 years. They'll give them 3 years to figure it out. They might send you to the G League if you really are struggling, and then you get some more reps. 3 years in the NBA, it's more valuable than 1 year in college.
And on top of that, too, if you're not a complete bust, you are making a rotation in the NBA and going into your second contract, you're going to get paid like $15-20 million at this point with the new CBA and everything. But that's an NBA podcast. Let's move on.
Great question, Carl.
Let's do some more Twitter questions.
Yeah, Jackson at Arizona Coug 1. Shout out, Jackson. Do we put 100% ownership on the band?
We might. Well, no, not 100%. I'll take ownership. I'll be the bigger man.
Should we go 50-50, you and the band?
No, I'll take 100.
Take 100. So nothing on the band tonight. The band did make an appearance tonight. It was a story. I didn't read too much into it, but all we know is that they're back. They obviously weren't at any games this season.
Not a good luck charm.
Not a good luck charm. Although I gotta say, I think I enjoyed them back. It felt more college-y. They were playing. They were good tonight, and it's just adds to the atmosphere a little bit.
No, I liked them tonight. It was good having his band back.
I also wore different shoes. I literally I kid you not, I put on these shoes to come to this game, and I was like, I think the last time I wore these shoes, they lost. So I'm gonna take a little bit of ownership too.
Pause. We are big J, capital J journalists, so we are completely unbiased.
Yeah.
So.
No, I was just like, not like I wanted to.
Just making sure. I don't want you to.
I'm just saying. Just reading the lines.
Let's go with the hot takes man himself, Nathaniel.
Nathan Hot Takes.
Nathan Hot Takes. At Nathaniel_MILLI. Hot takes. Here we go. Yegor should only ever take twice as many shots as anyone else if we're rebounding well. You're putting my brain in a pretzel at 1:30 in the morning, but
1:30.
That sounds all right. That sounds right to me. I'm not gonna lie, that one's kind of going over my head right now. I might need to read it like 5 times. It's like when you're in church and they're like popcorn reading scriptures, and you read the scripture, but you didn't actually take anything away from it. They're like, what did that verse mean? You go, I don't know, man. I was just focused on not stuttering. I was just reading.
I was trying so hard not to sound like an idiot in front of the class.
Yeah, that's exactly how that question went right there for me.
I think it's a good hot take because I think, look, it's a catch-22 with Yegor because at the beginning of the season, everyone's like, what is this, Yegor? You only took 3 shots? I thought you were supposed to be a lottery pick. Now he's taking 20, and everyone's like, whoa, Yegor, chill it out, right? And not saying you're doing that, Nathan, at all, but I think it's finding a sweet spot. And as far as the rebounding goes, I would agree. I don't think you could go to the bench and be like, okay, what's the rebounds? Okay, I can take 2 more shots.
Yeah.
I think you're absolutely right, and I think at the end of the day, we didn't even talk about BYU needs to rebound better. That
should have been the A block on our show today.
Yeah,
they got out rebounded like crazy, and it was in pivotal points.
I think it's like 45-30.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was at least a double-digit difference in rebounding, and that alone is going to lose you games. And the other thing with Yegor too is the problem is when he forces shots, and when he lets the game come to him, then everything is fine. Everything's flowing. But sometimes when he forces a little too much, and that kind of happened tonight. But honestly, in the first half, when he was aggressive, it was fine. He was getting to the paint.
Yeah, I like this hot take. I would say I would move it to Yegor should take anything outside of 20 feet. I'd say this applies. But I love it every time he goes to the rim. Every time he goes to the rim, I will be a happy man. He can take as many shots as he wants because those are high percentage, and he makes something happen most of the time.
So his next hot take is Dawson Baker forgets that he has teammates every other play. Kevin Young's talked about that a lot in the press conference. Not that particularly, but
I think he said that word for word. No, I'm kidding. Just kidding.
He said that Dawson just has a ton of confidence, and there's not a shot that Dawson doesn't think is going in. And you kind of want that for a guy on your team,
Yeah, I think Dawson's come through in some pretty big moments with some big buckets. I do think this might be a hot take. I think he's the best second-level scorer on the team, and I honestly think that they've told him that's his role. Dawson, when you're in there, man, we need you to get buckets. We need you to do your thing, and so I think he embraces that. Sometimes does he do a little ISO thing, and he's just head down. He's like, "This is my ball. I'm gonna go put up a shot right now." Yeah. Does it work half the time? Yeah. So. It take with what you will. I don't know if he forgets he has teammates. I'm sure he's being facetious.
Yeah, I know. Dawson, Kobe Bryant, Baker, huh?
It's not that bad.
It's not Kobe bad.
No.
Down has been pretending this whole season that he can't finish at the rim so that he could do it 4 times tonight. Yeah, we've been saying that all season. So, I mean, we finally saw it tonight, him driving to the paint. So, yeah, not much more to add there. And then not fun to lose with a 7-minute drought at the end of the game, but the Big 12 is a gauntlet, and I think we'll bounce back well. Great point. That's it. Like, couldn't have said it better.
Couldn't agree more.
Also, I realized we aren't following him back on the Twitter account. Had to change that right there. So,
what are we doing?
Yeah, that's bad job by me. Anyhow, next question.
All right, next question.
On to Cincinnati.
We do have Irving at Irving Dector. He's a screenshot of this 7 minutes. We've discussed it in ad nauseum, but it seemed like they gave up during the last 7 minutes of this game. I don't know if they gave up, but we talked about it extensively, what happened. And yeah, it's bad. 7 minutes is a drought. So
yeah, and they settled and they were forcing things and just didn't go their way.
Yeah, I think, but you're absolutely right. I mean, that was the period of time, and not good. Let's go to Jolly. Michael Jolly 36 played sloppy, but all fixable mistakes. Just missed some shots, and Arizona is very good. We'll be fine.
Boom, nailed it.
You nailed it, Jolly.
Nailed it. That's the right. That's the right way to think about this game.
Yeah.
Doug Dillard at Dillard_Doug. Need the band out of here ASAP. 0-1 with them in attendance. Seems like
hate, dude.
Seems like when they are at the game, the threes don't go in. Look, I'm not going to argue science. I'm not going to argue stone cold facts. Someone once said facts don't care about your feelings, Chase. And the fact is, the Rock Band is 0-1 when they are at the Marriott Center. And
there is a direct correlation.
There is potentially a direct correlation. And look, facts are facts. They're 0-1. They're batting 0 right now. They have a chance to redeem themselves, the following Saturday against Kansas State. But until then, they're going to take some grief right now.
I mean, look, you and I, we have college degrees. All right.
Barely.
So, when we talk about science, we know what we're talking about.
I got a C- in physical science.
I'm just joking. A lot of band hate. Again, I kind of liked it, but if they're bad luck, then yeah, I'm all for it. Get them out of here.
C-. I mean, that was a huge win.
Hold up, y'all. Every like Monday, Carter would come into class and he'd be like, "Man, physical science, bro." He would like lay it out. He's like, "I need a 48 on this test, bro."
Yeah,
to keep my C-.
Yeah, I was always just sitting there going for the C-, and then it would always be a question I would ask you guys. I'm like, all right, next test, over under 45%, and you guys go over. I'm like, that's a lot of faith.
I think I hit most of those times.
I got a C-, so I must have gotten over 45.
The diplomas were secured.
The diploma has been secured, so we're good.
We're good. Let's go to Drew Prater, DP at DrewB105. Richie just had an off night tonight, but Hall looked rejuvenated. If everyone is on their A game on the same night, we're a Sweet 16 team caliber, in my humble opinion.
Love that take. Especially right. That's a buy low spot. Saying that after a loss like this, that is a great take. Richie did have an off night tonight. Whatever happens, he just wasn't as aggressive, and just Arizona did a great job getting him off his spot tonight.
Yeah, and 11-6-1 is an off night for Richie. That's pretty sweet.
But if the draw's right, BYU's hitting their stride, get hot at the right time. There's no reason why this team can't make the second weekend. Now, big caveat: if they're playing in the first 4 in Dayton, that makes it way harder. So
yeah, so you want to. I think the goal right now, I
just make the tournament.
I feel really good about being in the tournament, and the goal, your glass ceiling goal is
win 1 game.
Just no. It's gonna not play in the first 4,
and
then yeah, obviously you want to win in the tournament.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you don't want to play in the first 4.
Yeah.
Oh man, I do not want to see BYU playing on Tuesday night, and you're like, oh, I'm so excited for March Madness, and if BYU lost on that Tuesday night, you're like, oh man, this puts a damper on.
Gotta go change my bracket real quick.
Yeah. It does the automatic, the other team moves on. You're like, oh, crap. I guess I have Ohio State in the Sweet 16. Let's move on. We got Kook Show, at baseless_12. Nell should not be starting. He is a defensive liability, and in no world should Yegor be putting up 20 shots. He's a facilitator. BYU also sucks at free throws. Let's go point by point here. BYU sucks at free throws. Check. Yeah, we're not going to argue that one, buddy. And they would say the same thing. Nell should not be in the starting lineup. He's a defensive liability. I think there's 2 ways to look at this. One, he can get picked on by the other team and they can attack him. But the other thing is he can also light it up for three and completely change a game. If he wasn't playing a lot of minutes in the first half of that UCF game, BYU does not win on the road
They
at
lose
UCF.
that game without Trevin Knell.
That is the key there too. And then moving on here, and in no world should Diego be putting up 20 shots. I agree. A lot of those shots were kind of empty shots where it was a lot of heaves at the end of the game and, that buzzer beater at the very end. But, if the shots are there, then fine, 20 shots. But, he is more of a facilitator. That's when he's at his best. And he's forced some tonight. And, yeah, ideally he's probably not shooting 20 shots. But, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
You covered it well.
Nice. Next question.
Let's go Peter Van Leeuwen at Peter Lewin. Those easier threes, by the way, if you want to look it up.
Nice.
Losing the rebound margin by 15 is just disgusting. Their 3-point percentage wasn't bad there. I'm assuming he's talking about BYU. Until they had to start chucking them up at the end. But it's pretty hard to win a basketball game when the other team owns the paint and the boards. You're absolutely right, Pete.
Yeah,
and it was bad. And what really killed BYU at the end, they couldn't get a stop, and they were all layups or fouls.
Yeah,
and they were dominating them. So you're absolutely right.
Yeah,
absolutely right.
And just the energy went out of the building, and they were getting easy shots and ticky-tack fouls, and boom, they won. Arizona took over that game. And then Alex Beach at ABeach319. I've seen enough. Ban the band from the Marriott Center.
You all hate the band.
The band is getting a lot of hate tonight.
A lot of hate from the band.
Look, man, there was a big stink made about it. I didn't actually read too much into the situation, but a big stink was made about all of it. And you come in, if you make a big stink and you come in and go 0-1, people aren't going to be happy. If the band was smarter, they would have chosen to come in at like the Oklahoma State game or next week against Kansas State. They should have picked their spots better and said, okay, we got to realize if we come in and lose now, people are going to point to us and blame us. And bad job by them. They played well tonight, and they brought a lot of energy to the game and stuff. But it's just bad luck, I guess.
Bad luck. Look, the jury's out on the band. We will reconvene next Saturday night, and we'll see where we're at with the band. We'll see if they even show up. If they show their faces here again.
Now, if they don't show up to the next game,
then we know.
I grant full authority to trash the band online.
We know.
That's coward stuff.
Yeah.
When we have a bad take, when someone says, oh, Caleb Love is going to be the reason why BYU wins this game, they still show up to the podcast and say, I take 100% blame for this loss.
Yep.
So, yeah, that'd be bad if the band didn't show up to the next game. Anything else before we go?
Just looking forward to next week. Huge road trip for the Cougs.
Yep.
Obviously, 2 time zones over. Tough teams to see Cincinnati again already.
Mm-hmm.
West Virginia, who's hot in the tournament team. So big weekend ahead. Make sure you watch all of our previews. And guys, really appreciate the comments.
Yep, absolutely.
You guys are the best. I mean, you guys keep it 100, but also positive, except for the band.
Yeah,
except y'all hate the band. But
I'm
you guys are the best.
The longer we record right now, the more I'm here for it.
Well, it is. What is it now? 1:40 in the morning.
Yeah, it's all right. So let's wrap up here at Church Ball Pod on everything. Make sure to follow on everything: Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, you name it, we're on there. Field of 68 Podcast Network at Field of 68, all that good stuff. Go check them out at Chase_Rogers0 at Karter B8. And if you're an NBA fan, Chase and I are going to be doing a little podcast.
Heyo.
So
at Church Ball
at Cartercast Podcast. Go check it out. We're going to be doing an NBA trade deadline show on Thursday. That'll be up Thursday afternoon.
If you think we know college ball, wait till we talk pro ball.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I'm excited for that one. Hopefully we get some big NBA trades to talk about. I want 2 more dominoes to fall, whether it's Kevin Durant, Jimmy Butler. But this is a BYU podcast. Let's wrap up here. We will see you guys for our Cincinnati preview.